wrote this play about 22 years ago. I was a teenager. I was 10. I channeled it. I was from the Big Mama. And so here's an opportunity if you have any questions for me about the play, about the production, what it was like for these women to do it, perform. Yes, Jubilee.
Congratulations to all on such a marvelous event, beautiful cast, and beautiful performance, and I'm very interested in the production history. I wonder if you could comment a little bit about what your contribution was, Shay, and what the director did, and what the cast members then brought to it. How did that come together? Because Annette said each version of this is very different. So neat.
It has. I've had the opportunity to see this many times, and part of the reason that I wrote the play, I turned into a play. I wrote these collection of short stories. I was in the south of France, far away from home, and the smells of cooking and all those things. I was in this little hut, you know, and speaking French all day, and, you know, by myself at night, listening to the wind howl. And I finished writing these short stories, and I remember that a theater in Atlanta said that if you ever write a play, you know, let us know. So I just thought, you know, this is a way for me to keep my Big Mamas alive, because I was very sad when I finished the short stories, as I do when I finish any project. You know, and I've created these characters, you know, so in a way they become real for me. And then it was the end, and I thought, ooh, I know what I'll do. I'll write a play. And so I cut and pasted what I thought was a play. And I took it to the theater in Atlanta. I actually sent it to an actress who I had seen, a wonderful actress, Carol Mitchell-Leon, who has since died. But I sent this to her and I said, I've seen you act, I think you're wonderful. I've written my very first play. If you like it, would you act in it? And she wrote back, and this is a handwritten play. You know, I had two handwritten copies. I sent one to her, which she actually, many years later, she still had that little handwritten, raggedy copy that I sent to her in mail with, and she said, yes, I like it, and yes, I'll act in it. And that was one step. I went to the theater, I said, Carol Mitchell-Leon said that she likes it and she would act in it. Would you do my play? And I didn't know how any of that worked. I just, you know, and she said, thank you, we'll take a look at it. And I went to that theater regularly. Every time I would go to different shows, and I said, please, you have read my play? Yeah, I've read my play. And finally, she hired a dramaturg who read the play, and they said, well, we see some potential here, but you know, you have 21 characters and we have to pay everybody. We don't have that kind of budget. And I had the whole town in it. And so they paired me with a director, Glenda Dickerson, and a really wonderful cast. And it really, we all worked together to make it a much more theatrical piece. And I had written all the stories at the time, but we had to focus on what is the story about. And so we really focused on the Big Mamas and the stories that they were telling her around this ritual that I didn't really invent it, but when I got my period, my grandmother, I was 11 years old, my grandmother dragged me through the neighborhood. Baby got her period. She go, oh my Lord. And I was so, you can be mortified, embarrassed. Walking that way, you know, right next to my grandmother. And when I was writing this play, and I was thinking of, you know, I wish that there had been a celebration, that it had been a wonderful, positive, like all celebration. And they loved me, and they did the best they could. But that was heartbreaking to me at the time, and so that part was rather created for this production. And a lot of women added that the wonderful line, I think is one of the best lines in the play, if it gets hot. Yeah. My dear friend Jenny Randall gave that to the production, and so there are a lot of things you know, we did improv. There are a lot of things we did to make the play, to make it a play rather than short stories. But it is a storytelling play, and that is at the heart of it. And like I said, I've seen many different productions, many different interpretations, and the most wonderful gift to me is that someone is still interested, people are still interested in this play all these many years later, and my Big Mamas they get to come back to life, but also, hopefully, you'll see your own selves, you'll see your own Big Mamas. And I myself, after being a little girl, you know, following the play around and looking on my Big Mamas, finally, I'm like, I get to sit in the Big Mama chair, I'm a Big Mama. So, and I know there's someone in the cast who've done another production, so you might want to talk a little bit about that.
This is the second production that we've actually,
kind of sort of.
yes, kind of sort of, because we did it originally in what, 1993? 93. In 1993, we originally did it. May and I were in it, and Yvette and the lady who directed it, Phyllis Cicero. And then we got a chance to do it again in Addison, the same cast. We just moved into Addison and Dallas, so we're very familiar with the show. The best part for me for doing the show is in the original production that we did. I was co-writing, and our good friend Janice Jeffrey, who has since passed on, was Big Mama. So, but I was very proud to do Big Mama because actually, every one of these characters reminds me of either a family member or one of the ladies in my neighborhood that I grew up in. Because in my neighborhood, you know, when we grew up, all of our moms watched us. If we did something around the corner, we knew that by the time we got through the house, my mama was going to know. Because all the moms looked out for us. So this play is very near and dear to my heart because I recognize these women. I was raised by these women, and I feel very close to these women. And I have a daughter, and she got a little bit of a chance to be in this kind of community, but not in the way that I grew up, and I kind of regret that because I love those women, and I think they helped shape my love of life. They helped shape my worldview. You know, I owe everything to them. So this was a wonderful chance for me to bring to life yet another character in the show.
This version was very musical in that sense, more than earlier versions, right?
Yes.
So much singing. Did that come from the cast?
Well,
The director?
in the original version, we did do the Yin and Yang, but we did kind of change it up in this. We did put a little more music in this.
And the reason for that was because we wanted to incorporate a contemporary feel, because some of these songs are very contemporary, but a lot of them are also very spiritual, which it goes back from the crossing over. We wanted to cross over the music to where it would blend into where younger people in the audience would have something to identify with and go, oh, that song, they used that song there, and they know that song. And the director kind of was very persistent about finding songs that could relate to both the young and the old crossing over.
Because the idea behind the play is timeless. I mean, it's everybody's mom, everybody's aunt, your school teacher that you really loved, the next door neighbor that used to bring you candies and stuff that they knew that you liked because they were around, the grandmother that watched over you while your mom worked. I mean, this story is timeless because humanity is
The
timeless.
beautician that's in the neighborhood that
The
knows
No. If you go to the beauty shop and you haven't heard what's happening, you will find out.
Don't have to buy a newspaper by the time you leave.
I would hope that after young people coming and even the older people would be reminded of what our commitment is to the next generation, that we would continue to pass on the wisdom. It may not be the Fanet situation, but technically it is. There's some euphemism that you can use. But I would just hope that all of our people would be more conscious that we are a community of teaching one, each one reaching one, and teaching what you know and passing it on so that it doesn't become lost. Because the play, as she said, is timeless, and so life is continuing to go on, and so we need to continue to bring the best to life in all of our children and everyone, so that we can continue to have a great world.
And see, I, being the mother of 3 girls, one of which is our stage manager. And see, I have an 11-year-old who's also in the theater. She's done short hair. And the thing is that I want them to, especially my 11-year-old, I wanted her to see this, because to let her know that, you know, there are people out there that aren't, you know, jumping up and down, hip-hopping, pants sagging down, you know. There are people out there that want you to succeed and be able to accomplish things in life with dignity, and there are ways that you can do that and still retain what you've learned as a small child. So, I mean, from being a mother of daughters, this was just a fantastic show to do, because it just brought that back to home, back home, but that one don't listen to me.
having Shay around while you're doing it?
It was fantastic having Shay around. I mean, and that's not just a kiss-up answer. I mean, really and truly.
Because you've done it without her, right?
Oh, yes. The first time we didn't meet her.
I think it's better when we don't know when she's here, because when Friday we didn't know she was coming, you know, and Sunday she came and we didn't know she was in the audience, so we, you know, just let all, and that's the way we like.
I have to say that it was wonderful meeting her, because we got a chance to find out a little bit of the history behind the Big Mamas. And that's something that you most likely, most of the time, an actor does not get the opportunity to do, because it isn't, you know, you can't always guarantee that the playwright is going to be around to tell you what happened to them, that they wrote this play. So it was very nice learning about her history, about her family, and about the love she has for this particular production.
Well, and I'd like to say it was, even though she wasn't around, I could feel her spirit. Because I lost my mother at 8. And so I even sought out older women. I looked for older people to give me wisdom. I would hang out, when I grew up in a little small town out in West Texas where there was nothing. And our only entertainment was, I had to go to a juke joint and didn't think anything of it, because that lady that ran it was my good friend. And so I felt that, because that was, and I was so excited to do the story because how important it was for me to have Big Mamas. My mother was gone. And I felt like I was at a disadvantage because she was no longer around to teach me what I needed to know. But little did I know that was also a great setup, that because I have had the experience of speaking with many women and men, I'm more diversified, and no situation you can throw me in. I am like Mae Francis. I think she used me as a model, and she just didn't know. I am Mae Francis, and my name is Mae. And so I think God is so awesome that He would allow us to just step into our roles. Most of us, I think, identify with the characters we play. At least I see a little bit of Corrine and I see Big Mama. And so it's a big story, but it's everybody's story. It's not just one person. So even though she wasn't here, I could still feel what she was obviously feeling, because I had gone through those experiences. When I got mine at 11 too. Oh, and my sister went and told my dad, Daddy, my mother died. Daddy, she started, why you put it
Well, one of the things, when I finished this play and it went out into the world, I went to every production for the first 2 years. I didn't have a regular job. I would work a little bit so I could go and write a little bit. And I had the kind of jobs where I could just take off and I would go to the, I said, I'll do publicity, I'll do whatever you want, just give me a hotel room and a flight. And so I got to see a lot of different productions, and I realized early on, before it was published a few years after, but the play itself, which is very different from the story, has some differences in the story, but I knew that it needed to be, I couldn't, for the rest of my life, follow this play, because it was coming fast and furious. I couldn't go to all the production, and it had to live without me, and so I had to trust that everything that needed to be there was on the page, but I also had to trust that the actors and the directors and the scene designers and the costume designers, to give them room for their own creativity too. Now, I didn't say they had to wear, you know, I wasn't very specific in say, costumes, or even in the music. So there's a gospel song here, or certain songs, like the Yemenjah song. Yemenjah is a river goddess, and those words, it's a ritual in which one can, goes out to the river, you take gifts, flowers, and food, you offer them to the river goddess, Yemenjah, and you ask her to hear your prayers. Please, hear my prayers. And so in this play, these women, the ritual of taking daughter to the river, they're taking a girl, a young girl to the river, and they're asking Yemenjah, give us back the woman. Give us back a young woman. So hear our prayers. So I left a lot of room in the play, in the production. In one production I saw in California, Big Mama lived in a mansion. It was a big white Victorian mansion. Garden. You know, and I've seen, you know, just in to the simplicity of this set, where the storytelling, you know, I know the director really trusted these women to tell the story. So you don't have a whole lot of props and a whole lot of things flying around. And I've seen other productions that were very busy and very musical and lots of different kinds of music. But I just have to say, for the most wonderful gift for me is that I get to, all my big mamas come back, and also I get more big mamas because all these women, as they say, they bring their own big mamas on this stage. And so after a while, I can't recognize my Aunt May, my Aunt Lily, my Aunt Jenny, because, you know, they're bringing something else to this production too. So it's in a way, it's a continual collaboration for me.
Shay, without the set designer here, can you tell me why? Did you have a discussion as to why the set was designed as it is?
I did not have a discussion with anybody about anything. I showed up on Sunday, I had spoken with
I had
I don't know.
Small discussion with her about it. She wanted the simplicity of the set because she felt like the story was so important that you know, having all the trappings and things wasn't necessary because the story is rich and full unto itself, you know, so we didn't need, you know, a lot of things. And it really, I really liked it because it kind of freed you up for more creativity because in your mind, you can envision where these people lived and who they were, and you didn't have, you know, you didn't have to just kind of put yourself in one small box and say, well, this is it, this is the world we live in. So I thought that it was, you know, a very wonderful thing that she did. I mean, she just felt like the story could stand on its own with all the big trappings, and I felt very proud of that.
It allows a lot of, you know, sort of flexibility, and you're not running into tables and chairs. There's one chair here. You know, you bring yourselves, and really trust you.
Right, and while we're doing the play, I mean, it also gives the audience itself. I mean, you can envision, because if you've known any of these people, as we're portraying them, it takes you back to your own memories, and you know, and you don't have big trappings, you know, that you have to sweep aside to get to it. It's just free and clear, so I like that.
Well, I was very impressed by the fact that you could take yourself, because to me, the story being a part of a ritual, I mean, being based on a ritual, this is like a church, a temple. It could be the governor's living room. It could be so many things, and I was very impressed by the way that such simplicity was used. It was nice.
I'm quite pleased with the production too. These women just shook it. They really Thank you all for being here today. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I would like